Okay, so this is a little bit of a complicated issue because, again, like I said a few times before, if you have a question about what the age of your child is, and like not what their age is, but is it appropriate, ask your local rabbi. Each community has it a little bit different. And he's talking here about the standard, basically, if there is no adults talking in shul, which is appropriate, then also most likely the children won't talk in shul and won't disrupt, but again, it depends on their age. So it is a forbidden for a person praying to seat a baby down in front of him because there's concern that the baby will disturb his concentration. And the reason why he says seat the baby in front of him is because in the next paragraph we're going to learn about how we're not supposed to hold anything in our arms or in our hands. So it's very unlikely that you're allowed to hold a baby, especially like we said before about a soiled diaper or crying or any other kind of disruptions. All the more so during times of prayer service, one may not bring babies and small children who do not know how to pray, since they are liable to distract the people praying. Although there is an extra pious custom to bring babies to synagogue so that they can absorb the holy atmosphere of the place, that custom, according to Rabbi Melamed, refers specifically to times when prayer service are not being held. I'll just tell you very quickly, when I was 5 or 5.5, we were visiting our aunt and uncle in Kiryat Arba, and I was outside of the shul most of the time because I definitely could not sit still. But somehow I went into the women's section just before Musaf, and my mother said, "I think that you're ready to learn this prayer." So that was my first memory of praying with the tzibur. And I know that when I was 4, I ran up and down the aisles in this shul because we were visiting my grandparents, but I guess we didn't know Rav Melamed at the time, and I guess it was more common at that time. So in order to emphasize the importance of this matter, I will cite the words of the Shlach Kadosh, Shnei Luchot Brit, who writes in the name of the Orchot Chaim, children's chatter in synagogue is a severe prohibition. Nowadays, their coming to synagogue brings punishment on those who bring them there, for they come to desecrate the holiness of our God's house and to laugh in it as they do in city streets. They get up to play with one another. This one plays with that one, and that one hits the other. One is happy, another crying. One is talking, another screaming. This is very a real description of what things could go into. One runs here, the other there. One relieves himself in the synagogue, and everyone screams, "Water, water!" So we're definitely not talking about number two. And there's one whose father gives him a book and he throws it down on the floor or tears it into 12 different pieces. Consequently, the noise their nonsense produces causes the people praying to lose concentration and results in the desecration of heaven's name. Am I hearing a? It's like a echo. Sorry. Anyone who brings children to synagogue in this way does not deserve to receive a reward for this. Instead, he should fear punishment. Worst of all, the children will be raised on this bad custom and foreign habit. As they grow older, they will increase their contempt for the synagogue and its sanctity. So this part I do agree with. Basically, if you force your children to come to shul and they really don't want to be there and they just want to do other things that are completely inappropriate, then when they grow up, they're never going to go to shul because you basically forced it on them. And so I think putting that all together without the idea of punishment and all this, it just that we should know what the right age to bring our children to shul. I'm just going to skip a little bit. However, when a child reaches the age of understanding, on the contrary, the father must bring the child to synagogue, teach him to sit down in awe and fear, and not let him move from his seat, and instruct him to answer Amen and respond to Kaddish and Kedusha. One whose child begins to disrupt the congregation's prayer must take him by the hand, bring him outside, and continue to pray there, even if he is in the middle of reciting the Amidah. So that's how important the Amidah is also to the other people. And maybe we'll conclude with one story about that when Rav Avram Malach, I'm not sure what generation he was from the Baal Shem Tov, they say that he was in such concentration that his soul almost left to the next world. And so another rabbi that came in and saw that told the child to grab something and stick it in his mouth in order to bring him down to earth. So sometimes it is good to pay attention to what's around us, especially if you're not in shul, if you're reciting Amidah at home, just make sure that you are able to concentrate. And that's really what the next chapter is. While reciting the Amidah, one may not hold an object that he fears will fall, such as tefillin, a book, full bowl, a knife, coins, or food. Of this list, the Talmud only brings the knife, the coin, and the tefillin, tefillin, because he will worry that it may drop, and thus his kavanah will be disrupted. Even in other parts of the prayer service, like the Shema and Pesukei Zimra, one must be careful about this. Lechatchila, one should not hold anything in his hand while reciting the Amidah, for it is not respectful to stand in front of Hashem while holding something extraneous. And of course, the question screams to us, how else am I going to pray? And so a siddur, he's going to immediately say, is allowed, and so is a lulav. Nonetheless, holding a lulav on Sukkot is permitted because it is a mitzvah to do so and does not disrupt the kavanah of one's prayer. Similarly, one is permitted to hold a siddur because it is necessary for prayer. So I don't, like one day when I meet Rav Melamed again, because he's my brother's rabbi, and I will ask him specifically, but I heard a class from a rabbi in Efrat, and I forget what his name is, but he said that praying from a cell phone is permitted if the cell phone is on flight mode. So basically, if you have the tefillon or other online sidurim on your phone, you're allowed to daven as long as you're not going to start reading text, emails, or even have to think about answering a phone call in the middle. So that's why he suggested flight mode. That way, none of these distractions will happen, and you'll be able to remember all the words if you don't know them by heart. And in general, it's not really good to pray by heart. Um, so when I pray with you guys, I'm always on my phone. So, but I don't usually hold it while in davening because so I have another phone that is dead, meaning doesn't have any kind of internet or anything. So I'll just use it for davening. Lechatchila, one should not recite the Amidah while standing with a knapsack on his back, for that is not a respectful way to appear before important people. All the more so, it is not respectful to pray in that manner. However, if he is already traveling with a knapsack on his shoulders and is more comfortable to leave it on, he may pray with it on him. And just give another example, if you are on a train and you're the only one that you know that is traveling, meaning all the other people are total strangers, it's good to have your knapsack either on you or next to you while davening, because that way you're not worried about stealing. And that's how he ends this chapter. Additionally, if someone is holding a tefillin or money, fears that if he puts these items down, they will be stolen, and he does not have a friend there to watch them, no pockets in which to put them, it is preferable with the evidence to keep them in his hands while praying, so that he will be less troubled and concentrate better. Likewise, if someone is carrying a heavy knapsack on his back, he's worried that it will be stolen, because the weight that he said before was 12 pounds. So even if it's heavier than that, and he has no other choice than to carry it, he is permitted to pray while wearing it. And I think, again, that will help him concentrate as opposed to the other way around. Last but not least, a soldier carrying a gun, which is very, very practical in Israel today. And the Chatchila should not pray with his weapon on him, nor enter the synagogue with it, for it is inappropriate for him to pray about life and peace while wearing an instrument intended for killing. That's why when we had the class yesterday about the Mizbeach, It says that you're not allowed to lanif alem barzel ki charvecha nafta alev t'chaleh, that you're using a instrument of death for an altar that brings life. And so, of course, however, if he may pray with it on him, if he is carrying it for security reasons or guarding it from theft. And what they do in Rabbi Melamed's Yishuv is that a handgun is always stuck securely to your waistband, so you don't even have to hold it. And if you have a bigger gun, unless your commander tells you that you must carry it, most people put the gun on the floor underneath the seat, so nobody even sees it. But everybody knows that it's there, and you can reach for it in seconds. So I think that we'll end with that. That's those two things were about concentration and making sure that we don't have anything that distracts us.